Today on Investigate TV Plus, classrooms across the country are at a critical point.
Schools who never suffered from a teacher shortage are suffering now.
We reveal a global solution,
High five.
giving students new experiences.
I asked her, what's it like in Jamaica?
Plus, Americans are losing more money than ever to scammers.
It just seems so real.
We uncover the con that took thousands from this couple and how you can avoid the same fate.
Then, a comic book collector's dream.
I think a lot of collectors have a gene. You gotta have them all.
How this humble collection grew into a massive marvel. In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
A quality education can help set up a child's future for success. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Yet schools across the country face challenges staffing their classrooms. We found the crisis stems from the pandemic, and still, at the start of the 2023-2024 school year, 86% of U.S. public schools reported challenges hiring teachers. Along with the need for staff, schools also face an issue when it comes to diversity. The latest federal data shows as of the 2020-2021 school year, 80% of teachers were white.
Investigative reporter Heather Graff uncovers the problem and how, in order to solve it, school districts are exploring options well beyond traditional boundaries.
Good morning, Noah. High five.
Renee Rose Grandison,
Good morning.
better known as Miss Rose to her students,
Yeah, good morning.
has been a teacher for over 13 years.
So this is the number that we're looking for.
But this classroom is her first in the U.S.
I am Jamaican, was born there, lived there my whole life.
Renee moved from Jamaica to Fairfax County, Virginia at the start of the 2023-2024 school year.
I am big on professional growth and development, and I just thought that being on this program would have afforded me that opportunity.
And at Bush Hill Elementary, where the student body speaks dozens of languages,
Did you find the mystery number?
the school principal says Renee was a perfect fit.
I felt like she was someone that could learn from us and that we would also learn from her.
The Culture Corner behind Renee's desk is just one example of that unique back and forth.
So while we were learning about the national bird of the U.S., which is the bald eagle, then I was able to say, well, in Jamaica, our national bird is the hummingbird.
Each lesson,
Like our pledge is different from the Jamaican pledge.
a chance for these second graders to embrace their differences.
I asked her, what's it like in Jamaica? What's the climate? How close is it to the equator? Because I've never had a teacher that's from a different culture.
Those are things that make the learning experience more rich.
All of it is part of Fairfax County Public Schools' new Global Exchange program. The school system teamed up with an organization called Participate Learning, which is a U.S. Department of State designated sponsor of the J-1 visa that allows international teachers to work here for up to 5 years.
They facilitate the complicated process of helping teachers to get their J-1 visa.
Dr. Felicia Hamilton led the effort to launch this outside-the-box, outside-the-U.S. approach within FCPS, and cites the push for a more diverse teaching staff as their main motivation.
Kendrick, what's on your mind? What would you like to share?
Renee, one of about 30 ambassador teachers they brought in from 8 different countries.
Because we know that when students see themselves reflected in their classrooms, in their schools, that they are more successful. We have a responsibility to have a diverse workforce, and that is really what we're trying to do.
What are the requirements these teachers have to have, though?
They are experienced teachers. They have to have a minimum of 2 years teaching experience. They also have to have a degree in either teaching or education. They have to be fluent in English, and they also have to have a driver's license.
Those qualifications laid out in detail on the government's J-1 visa website, along with teacher screening and selection requirements that the visa sponsor must adhere to, including multiple background checks.
So they are fully vetted across the board.
And it's not just this school system that's hiring overseas.
We're really honored that they want to come and work for us.
Amid nationwide teacher shortages, we've reported on similar programs in places like Arizona, North Dakota, Connecticut, Mississippi, and Missouri.
We're bringing in at least 25 international teachers this year.
And State Department data shows the number of international teachers working in U.S. school districts has climbed steadily, with the COVID pandemic year in 2020 being the only exception, from about 2,700 in 2016 to nearly 7,000 in 2023, when the Philippines, Jamaica, Spain, Colombia, and India topped the list in terms of most teachers sent.
The need is there from coast to coast.
Jason Hammond is president of the International Alliance Group and says his team has helped place hundreds of teachers in about 30 states.
Schools who never suffered from a teacher shortage are suffering now. Also, there is a big push for diversification as the demographics of communities change.
Do you see international teachers as part of the solution?
I've always said you must cast a wide net. There's no mother lode of teachers waiting in a gold mine, right? But to answer your question specifically, yes, international teachers are one part or one important tool in the human resources or superintendent's toolbox to be able to bring qualified educators into the classroom.
Qualified educators like Miss Rose.
I can do whatever I set my mind to.
Who, as of recently,
have the best day ever, okay?
Was nominated for Most Outstanding New Teacher at her school.
Nothing feels better when you go to a new place and you're accepted and welcomed with open arms, with love and with warmth.
We dug into the numbers to find which states are hiring the most teachers from overseas. In the 2022-23 school year, North Carolina came in at number 1, followed by Florida, Texas, Arizona, and South Carolina. And a bit more about the J-1 visa exchange program. The State Department says it welcomes about 300,000 visitors from 200 countries each year. Among them are teachers, college students, physicians, and camp counselors.
Still ahead, a growing diagnosis among children has parents rethinking everyday activities.
Hairdressers weren't trained to deal with kids with sensory issues, so it was always a battle.
An in-depth look at how spaces big and small are adapting for children with autism.
Plus, pop-up problem, the cyber scam that caught this couple.
I could get in a lot of trouble.
Yet the look on his face was pure white.
What set off their alarm bells and how you can stay one step ahead. In 2023, Americans lost $10 billion to scams, the highest amount ever reported to the Federal Trade Commission. The top scams, social media, investment, and at number 1, imposter scams. A Missouri couple experienced an imposter scam firsthand and paid the price.
Apprehensive to share their story at first, reporter Ashley Reynolds shows us why they're now opening up.
It just seems surreal.
Kenneth Mandel got an alert on his iPad. It looks similar to this, saying he was hacked and to call a number.
He gave me his name, he gave me a badge number. He says, I'm from Apple support, Apple fraud support.
The news was worse than a computer virus. He was accused of a horrible crime. Hackers were making him look like a bad guy.
What they're doing, it appears that they have downloaded a $15,000 charge for a child porn site out of China. Well, that immediately got my attention.
Mandel does not have a criminal record and says he didn't have any photos or videos like that on his iPad. Obviously, Mandel did not want that on his computer or record.
I'm like, okay, I'm really scared because child pornography, I could get in a lot of trouble.
Yet the look on his face was pure white.
Don't call any financial institutions for at least 48 hours because the hackers are still monitoring your phone and your internet.
He did exactly what he was told from the so-called Apple fraud support. After all, the cons assured him they could take care of it.
He even said, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to put a fraud alert out on all your accounts and send it to the credit bureaus, and we'll put some more charges on your credit card to offset the $15,000. I'm like, okay, I'm sucked in.
Time out. You might be thinking, there's no way I'd fall for something like that. Well, here's the thing. Scammers will tell you anything to try to scare you. That's when they convinced Mandel to come here to the Lowe's in Ozark. He spent more than $7,000 in gift cards. He says this took hours, and cashiers did ask him questions.
Are you being told by somebody to buy these cards? And I said no, even though I got my phone in my pocket and Jason's still on the phone.
He read the numbers on the back, and the swindler named Jason took it all. He was instructed to buy Apple and Nordstrom gift cards. You can put a large amount of money on those cards. His wife Diane then took the phone and had a few words with the thief.
And you're not going to talk to him because this is a scam. And he immediately hung up. We never heard another thing from him for the rest of the day, or at all.
Mandel filed a report with the Federal Trade Commission, Nixa Police, and spoke with his insurance company and bank. He was told because he authorized the charges, he cannot get his money back.
So I'm out a good sum of money.
He didn't want to tell anybody because he was embarrassed. And I said, you've got to get it out there. You have got to get this out there.
Now, we want to give you the tools to recognize a scam like this and avoid the same fate. The financial firm Schwab recommends you keep your security software browser and operating system up to date. Consider using your browser's pop-up blocker, and in general, distrust pop-up messages on websites, especially if they claim to have found a security risk.
Still ahead, this isn't your average amateur comic book collector.
These are Marvels and DCs. Before 1988.
How this man's hobby exploded into a cave of comics.
Plus, taking off on the right foot.
I'm your captain for this flight, and I'd like to welcome you aboard. We're going to go ahead and start the engines.
The program allowing children with special needs to navigate the airport with ease.
It's a diagnosis becoming more common, autism spectrum disorder. According to a 2023 report from the CDC, 1 in 44 children surveyed in 2018 had ASD. 2 years later, it rose to 1 in every 36 children. The CDC says this increase may reflect improved screening, awareness, and access to services. As more children are diagnosed with the disorder, more public spaces are adapting to their specific needs.
We want to show you what those needs are and how a little bit of care goes a long way when it comes to helping them navigate the world. For Nate, the sound of scissors and a buzzer isn't so scary anymore.
Nate has definitely gotten a lot better throughout the years.
That's after mom Christina Raymond found New Style Hair Studio in Meridian, Connecticut.
Made a post, just kind of a plea. I need help. I need somebody who knows how to cut hair and deal with kids with sensory issues.
Christina says Nate has moderate autism and he's nonverbal, and getting a haircut was once a nightmare experience.
I realized we never really learned how to accommodate someone with special needs in barbering school or cosmetology school.
So Eddie Rivera created an online special needs barbering training. Rivera says he designed the course to educate cosmetologists on what they can expect when a child with special needs sits in their chair.
Getting to know them, getting to know what they like, what they don't like. Some kids don't like the cape.
There's evidence that more places like this could help children like Nate. According to a study from the University of California, San Francisco, more than 96% of children with autism experience sensory challenges. Those could be over or under sensitivity to things like bright lights, loud noises, and unfamiliar surroundings, which makes an airport a prime spot for sensory overload. But this terminal at Greenville-Spartanburg International Airport in South Carolina,
who's ready to get on an airplane?
Is just a rehearsal.
It just gives them an opportunity to rehearse the airport.
From TSA to ticketing. The Wings for All program allows children and adults with autism and other disabilities to experience everything at the airport before their trip.
Families feel more comfortable traveling.
I'm your captain for this flight. I'd like to welcome you aboard. We're going to go ahead and start the engines, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take you on a simulated flight.
This is something that a lot of families with children with different special needs don't get to experience and to see the sights and sounds.
Hey, hands on your belly button.
This pediatric dentistry outside of Cleveland, Ohio, also giving patients with autism and sensory processing disorders a reason to smile.
You said you want peppy peppermint, raspberry razzle, or cherry cola.
Dr. Shreya Modi says she added the sensory room for children to feel more at ease before getting in the chair.
People thought that I was crazy, but I knew that it was going to make a huge difference, and it has.
According to the Children's Health Council, sensory rooms are environments created to provide an immersive sensory experience through lights, colors, sounds, textures, and aromas. The council says the spaces have a calming effect on children with autism and sensory processing disorders and helps improve focus. Back at New Style Hair Studio, Eddie Rivera and his wife, a social worker, want to combine their expertise to create something much bigger.
Get this going through legislation to make it part of the barber and cosmetology curriculum. I think in life, your goal should be to leave it better than you found it.
In recent years, sports stadiums across the country have introduced sensory rooms as a way for people with sensory issues to step away from the roars of the crowd. In the summer of 2023, Vanderbilt University unveiled sensory rooms in its Memorial Gym in First Bank Stadium. They have bean bags, light-up walls, activity panels, bubble walls, and custom art pieces. In 2023, sensory equipment company Xperia found about 30% of sports stadiums it surveyed in the U.S. have sensory rooms.
Still ahead, we take you to the ultimate comic kingdom.
Yeah, this is my favorite aisle. This is the aisle that smells like old comic books the most.
How a humble collection of graphic novels grew into this novelty.
Comic books are making a comeback. According to industry sales analyst ICV2, comic book sales surged during the pandemic, growing 62% in 2021.
Reporter John Carter shows us how his obsession grew into massive marvel.
But of course, if we buy it, we gotta, sell it at that price. So I don't know, what do you want for it?
Shelton Drum has been buying and selling comic books for decades. His Heroes Aren't Hard to Find comic book shop in Charlotte is one of the most popular in the Southeast. But the hundreds of comic books you can find here in the shop are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what Shelton's collected over the years. And for the first time ever,
this is the older stuff over here.
He's allowing us to go into the secret location where he keeps his comic book collection, something very few others have ever seen.
It is the, I don't want to say graveyard, but it is the warehouse from Indiana Jones, but it's mostly comic books and comic-related magazines and things.
There are shelves and shelves and shelves of boxes, each box filled with comic books.
These are Marvels and DCs before 1988.
There are comic books of every kind, everything from A to Z, from every year since comic books first came out.
Yeah, this is my favorite aisle. This is the aisle that smells like old comic books the most.
It is comic book nirvana.
Everything down this big long aisle on both sides are what we call modern comics.
And although there is no exact count, Shelton estimates there are anywhere from 800,000 to 1 million comic books here, believed to be the largest collection of its kind in the Carolinas.
All this stuff is alphabetical, numerical, so that we can find it. The question always comes up, is it computerized, on some kind of database? And
yeah.
It's not. It's just in order.
Why are you not computerized?
This is 800,000 comic books.
So just how does one amass such a huge collection as this?
I think a lot of collectors have a gene. It's like you got to have them all.
Well, Shelton has been collecting for more than 50 years. He started by going to flea markets where he'd buy whatever he could find. He buys from customers, and he buys other collections, like the time he bought a collection of 100,000 comics. Are you willing to say how much you paid for that?
Well, I got a second mortgage on my house at the time. That was pretty scary.
Yeah, that's very scary. Clearly, Shelton has a passion for comics, something born years ago when he was just 7 years old.
Somewhere along the line, I'd read one of my good friends, neighbors, Spider-Man 7, Return of the Vulture. And it was just so exciting to me, and I just love the artwork and Spider-Man and the dialogue, and it's like, I love this.
That love has lasted all these years and has only grown stronger. But it's a love that goes far beyond the comics themselves, something that probably explains why he's been so successful over all these years.
I love my customers. I mean, I know them, they're my friends, and I enjoy seeing them. Not because they're going to give me some money for comic books this week, but just to see them again. You know, they've had kids, their kids have had kids, they bring their grandkids in. That's the emotional thing, is
the relationships.
The people and the relationships.
You know, right when he started talking about that second mortgage, I was just trying to calculate. You have about 800,000 comic books. Like, how much have you spent on that?
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
And I'm curious now. I'm going to go read a comic book. I've never read a comic book.
You never read one?
I've never flipped through the whole thing.
Go to a shop. He'd love to meet you.
Well, that's going to do it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching. Next time on Investigate TV Plus, it's marketed as an ingredient for whipped cream, but these cartridges found in smoke shops are being used to get high.
These kids are able to get this stuff on every corner.
An in-depth look at the impacts of nitrous oxide and how it changed one family's life forever.